Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming in tonight. This is the Thursday night show. In case you missed it, tonight we're actually going to have a subject, though, so I appreciate all of you for coming in. As you can tell by looking behind me, my back is against the wall. So we got some things we need to discuss. Before we do that, let's say hello to some of the people. I've already said hi to most of you in the text portion of the comments, but we'll still circle back around and hit everybody once again. My good friend Tim Back was the first one here. He was concerned that notifications didn't go out, and I let him know they usually come out about 30 minutes before the show, but he was letting me know. There was also some other YouTubers that went live about the same time tonight, so I'm not sure how big of a crowd we'll have, especially coming in late. Most of you guys are in bed by now. But anyway, we'll still plug along, and I know that they'll watch it in the replay later. And I appreciate you being here. And Tim says he was parked and on YouTube and saw it, so he'll get the link, or he'll get the notification in 20 minutes. I said, hopefully. He said he just got the notification, and it came right at the 6:30 mark. So for future reference, we all know, I'm still learning about this stuff too, that about 30 minutes prior to the show is when the notifications generally will go out. Usually I'm so late getting on here that it's barely 30 minutes till the show when it goes out anyway. My good friend Ted is here. Hey, Ted. And also, the right way to truck is here, present and accounted for. So formal. I thank you for being here. Roger Berry is not going to make it. He's on vacation watching the beautiful sunset here in Maine. I will watch tomorrow in the airport on the way back to Lexington. Well, nothing would make that Maine sunset more beautiful than the voice of Trucker Todd in the background. No, man, enjoy your vacation and just watch when you can, man. I appreciate you checking in, though. Let's see. And then it was me thanking those that I saw for being here. Another good friend of the show, Wesley Baxley, is here. Thank you for coming in, sir. Man, the whole crew's here. Also, OTR Vic is here. He's also a good friend of the show. Thank you for being here, sir. Jay Fisher, good evening. My first time catching a live from the beginning. Well, we thank you for being here, sir. And tonight's a real important show. I need you guys' help. So I'm glad that you're here. As I said, my back is against the wall. Good evening from the great state of South Carolina. South Carolina is a great state. I enjoy going over there. I'm currently at home looking for loads right now, and I would love to find one going to South Carolina. Yeah, I made it. It's been a heck of a day. We're going to talk about the day, too, and the week and everything else. We'll get up to all that tonight. I just want to say hi to everybody. I'm actually glad to see you guys because I really didn't think I was going to be able to do a show tonight. Good evening. My good friend Michael is here. Thanks for being here, Michael. Checking in from Omaha, it's Travis Jones. Thank you for being here, sir. Also a very loyal watcher. Glad you could make it, Travis. And my good friend Axel Blackblade is here with a $5 donation. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Hey, Mr. Todd, just ended my shift. Good to catch a live again. Yes, sir. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do one today, so I really appreciate you being here. And Ted says, I would like to thank all you drivers for all you do. Well, we thank you, sir, for the appreciation. Big Lawrence Network, did you have a successful lease over Swift Transportation? Yes, sir. I can tell you that in 27 years of driving, well, December will be 27 years. Let's call it 26 years. I started in 96. Since 1996, I made the most money I've ever made with any company in trucking, out of trucking, at Swift Transportation. Now, some things to keep in mind. They've made some changes over there. The market has changed. I'm not saying it's going to be the best job you've ever had, but I'm saying I did very well over there as a lease operator. And I still have a lot of friends at Swift. And my reason for leaving the company, there was no ill will. I left because I had bought a truck from a viewer who will come in here sometimes. He's not in here tonight. He usually works when my shows are on. He's on a dedicated deal. And he sold me a truck. I bought that truck and I fixed it up over a couple of months. And I had it sitting in storage, and I thought, it's silly for me to be paying for a truck for that truck sitting in storage and not being used. And so I decided to pull that truck out and run it on the spot market, which is, you guys know, I was at Dart running the spot market. I loved it. And Swift, the spot market, Dart had some weird things going on, let's be honest. And there's videos about that. No need to throw rocks at them. But Swift was beta testing a load board. They offered me the opportunity to come to Swift, beta test that load board, and I took a shot at it. And it was great. But then it turned out to be not as advertised. It had a ton of technical problems that they couldn't seem to get worked out. They went through like 3 different IT departments, IT teams while I was there, and couldn't get it right. And so I took that truck that I had with Swift, I turned it in, and then I took that truck that I'd been fixing up that I bought from the viewer, and I put it on the spot market at F2F. Approximately 3 weeks later, I had an accident. I totaled that truck. And I sat at home for a couple of months waiting on the insurance things to settle out. And then I came to work for a small carrier who we're going to talk about very soon. Bought a truck from a dealership. And that's going to be part of what we talk about tonight, is that dealership. But anyway, that was a long answer to your short question. And I hope I answered what you was wanting to know. OTR Vic, are you on home time or on the road? A little bit of both. So I came home just real quick, had some stuff to do. And matter of fact, I pulled a load last night, just a short one around here. Planning to leave out today. The load kind of fell apart. And so I'm still at home, probably going to leave out tomorrow if I can find something good. If not, I'll spend the weekend here and take off Monday. But short answer to your question, I'd really like to leave out tomorrow morning. But like I said, I did have something scheduled today, and it fell through. There was some communication problems, and so it wasn't meant to be. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. So let's talk about, we got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about today, because I know a lot of you were curious. A lot of you were concerned that something had happened to my aunt, or that something had happened to my grandson. I can assure you both of them are fine. My aunt is now at a rehab facility, and they're doing like physical therapy, occupational therapy, trying to get her where she can walk again and, get some mobility and some quality of life improvements. Grandson is out of intensive care. He's at home right now, and from what I hear, he is doing a lot better. Still not perfect. I have not been able to see him yet. I've been super busy. But, I'm glad things are going well for him as well. That today was another deal, and I don't want to talk about any specific companies here. I'm already in enough trouble, but you call these large companies with a very technical problem. Say it's your cell phone, say it's your cable, your internet, and they send it to a foreign company that their English is broken at best. And Oh, what the heck? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm talking about Verizon. Verizon, my wife's phone, she has a smartwatch, and her phone, and there's more companies that we're going to get to about today, and then we'll get to what I really wanted to talk about. But you call the customer service number, her phone and her smartwatch separated. She's got a smartwatch with a SIM card. It's supposed to make phone calls and text messages and stuff, just like mine, without having the phone there. So if you forget your phone, leave it at home. You can still use your watch just like your cell phone. She uses it a lot at her work. If I need to send her an important message, she obviously can't answer her phone, so she'll glance at her watch. And then if it's important, she'll shoot me a quick text back if I need some information or something like that. Well, you call Verizon. Now, this is a technical issue, and it routed the call somewhere overseas, and I won't even pretend to know where. And I couldn't understand them. They couldn't understand me. It was and I waited on hold for 30 minutes for this. And then finally I gave up. I hung up. I was mad. And so they have a chat feature, and I did the chat feature, and you get an American if you do the chat feature. And we fixed the problem in what, Paula, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, really quick solution. When I could get a person on the phone, I said, here's what it's doing. Here's what I think we need to do to fix it. They did what I said, and it fixed it. I said, you need to reflash her watch because it's not showing a phone number in it. They said, all right, we'll do that real quick and see if that fixes it. They flashed it. It worked. All right. The main reason I came to town, I mentioned this, is I was out of one prescription, and I was getting really low on some of my other ones. Now, this one prescription is over $1,000 a month. And so it needs to be done with insurance. And I've been out of it for over a month now. It was on back order because a lot of people are using this medication for weight loss, but it's actually a diabetes medication. And they finally got it in, and by then my health insurance had lapsed. So I finally got my health insurance caught up. Everything was good. And I go to get the medication, and the insurance company had not reported to the prescription portion of the company that I had paid my premiums. And so that was a big rigmarole. And then when they got it fixed, they said, well, since it lapsed and you reinstated it, we're going to put your drugs on hold for 90 days and you can't get your medication. Or if you do, you'll have to pay full price for it, which today would have been close to $1,500 with all the medicines and everything. So I said, well, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have paid the premiums. I said, I'll just call my bank and I'll stop payment on those premiums that I just sent you guys, and I'll pay for it myself out of pocket. And of course, they're like, oh no, don't do that. So we'll fix this. So they overrode the system and fixed it to where I could get my medications. But I spent a large part of the day at the pharmacy taking care of that. My wife happened to be off today, so I ended up getting to hang out with her a little bit. And then we bought some, and this is what we're getting to. I bought some more of those accordion style file things so that I could file my paperwork in a more orderly manner when there's, because what happened was I did a video a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned 3 companies that I was having trouble with. And I talked about doing a wall of shame on my website, which is truckertodd.net. If you hadn't checked it out, I'm going to go ahead and remove this so y'all can see that for a minute. And then we'll jump back into the comments. And, 2 of those companies since then have reached out to me and have tried to make an amends. One of them was Samsung. They ended up paying me the $2,280 something they owed me. And the other was the dealership that I got my truck from. They sent me a text a couple of days ago and said they had mailed a check, and I should be receiving it any day now. And I told them I'll believe it when I see it. So Theoretically, 2 of those are taken care of. The third one decided to take the high road. And instead of calling me and saying, Todd, I don't feel like I owe you this, I feel like I owe you that, or Todd, I don't feel like I owe you, and here's why. Or how about this? Hey, Todd, I owe you, but I can't afford to pay you, so I'm not going to pay you. Or, hey, Todd, I think this is an opportunity to screw you, and I'm going to take that opportunity to screw you. You're never getting your money. No, they didn't do none of those things. What they did instead was sent me a cease and desist. Now, I had a lot of fun making fun of that. And I think it was an overreaction. I think it was stupid. I think it shows how unprofessional they are. I think it shows how slimy they are, how dishonest they are. But I've decided to comply with that cease and desist. And I haven't mentioned their name since then on this program, nor do I intend to. Some people have mentioned them in the comments, and I have no control over what gets said in the comments. But I have a very low opinion of them. Unrelated to that, I am looking for a new tax accounting service. If you guys have somebody that you use that's familiar with truck taxes, please let me know and I'll look into them. You guys know I used to have ATBS and I had some problems with them. And my biggest problem with them was I was doing very well on YouTube at the time and they weren't really set up for YouTube. Since then, they've made some changes. They may be somebody to look at. I've got a really good friend who's in the chat right now, very smart guy. He tells me I should just get QuickBooks, do it myself. He claims he could walk me through it, and that may be the route I go. But I'm curious who you guys use, and what I'm looking for is maybe you've got a guy back home that specializes in transportation taxes, or maybe you're also a YouTuber. We've got a lot of YouTubers that watch this, and you've got an accountant you use that's familiar with both trucking and with the social media world. Another thing I want to talk about, my TikTok has been a disaster. I had enough subscribers or followers, I guess is what they call them, to start going live over there too. But I didn't know it at the time. They were splitting between 2 accounts. I had Trucker Todd 806, and I also had Trucker Todd on YouTube. I have since closed the Trucker Todd 806, and we only have the Trucker Todd on YouTube now. But most of the followers are gone. They got lost in the shuffle. So you might, if you have a TikTok account, go through there and make sure that you still have Trucker Todd on YouTube on there. Right now, I've put some shorts on there and stuff, but there is going to start being a lot more content over there as we look to grow and expand. And I'm also working on the subscription-based stuff that will allow us to talk politics and me not get myself in trouble. And I'll also be able to talk trucking and say things that I'm prevented from saying right here because it'll be a more private environment. And honestly, I'm probably most excited about that. Here, I kind of got to bite my tongue, watch what I say. Over there, I can kind of let loose and say what I want to say. So let's jump back into some comments while I give y'all a second to chew on that. Tim says, to make a long story short, since he said he will him until Monday, LOL. Yeah, I would, I ain't gonna lie, my finances are leaps and bounds better than what they were, since 2/3 of the people that owed me paid me. Well, half. There's a fourth one, separate situation. We reached a compromise on that deal, and I got about 75% of what I wanted, and I'll be receiving that within the next 30 days. And that's gonna make a big difference when that deal goes through too. But yeah, that's I still need to be working. I'm not back to swift days of money. may never get back there, but I need to be working, and I hated to lose that load today. I actually had two of them. There was one of them I was going to do another run like I did last night, which was a short one down to Midland. And then I had a load that picked up in Odessa, which is like 30 miles away. And it was a pretty good paying load. I don't remember where it went. Seems like it may have went to Colorado or something. But anyway, the Midland one fell through. And then I got this other one going over to, I think it was going to Temple, Texas. And it fell through. So it's just been a crappy day for loads and communication, things like that. But you know, that happens. It doesn't discourage me. Not upset about it. So I kind of laughed about it, actually. You can't take yourself too seriously, and you can't take this stuff too seriously. You want to be professional. You want to do a good job. But you got to understand things aren't always going to go your way. They're not always going to go according to plan. And you have to adapt and adjust and kind of roll with the punches, if that makes any sense. I meant, since he said it, he will be home till Monday. Yeah, I probably will be. And, you know, I said, I've always talked about a work-life balance. And so while I do need to be out making money, I also need to balance that with time with family and time with the wife and things like that. So, yeah, I'm trying to find that balance. I think we all are. Sometimes I take way more time off than I should, and sometimes I work way more than I should. But yeah, that's kind of where things at. I'm going to aggressively look for a load when this video ends tonight and first thing in the morning. But if it ain't there, it ain't there. It's kind of like in football when the quarterback looks for an open receiver and looks and doesn't see one, so he throws the ball away to avoid a sack. I'm going to look, and if there's nothing on Friday, I'll look for Saturday or Sunday. And if I have to wait till Monday, I have to wait till Monday. I'm not going to take a bad load or something that puts me in a bad spot just to be moving, just to be working. And fortunately, the guy that I'm leased on with, he gets it. I've talked to him 2 or 3 times today. We had to deal with some issues and some stuff. And he gets it. There's no pressure from them. Hey, Todd, you need to be working. You need to be doing that. He knows that I know the deal and what needs to be done. And so he just lets me do my thing for the most part. And so, man, from a work standpoint, I couldn't be happier. And that's why I'm going to be so excited to tell you about that company, you know, in the coming weeks, next week or two. So as you can see, my back is against the wall about this accounting thing. I need to find an accountant or software like my good friend suggests. And because right now I've got receipts mounting up, and you know, the more you stack up and do on your own, the greater risk there is you're going to lose something. And then when you do find an accountant or you do find that software you want to use, the greater the chance that you're going to get something missed or something like that. So, yeah, I mentioned that other stuff, but unrelated to that, I do need to find an accountant pretty quick. Good evening, Todd. Finally found a parking spot near Atlanta. Did you have to pay for it or did you get free parking? Wesley's with Verizon. I actually have Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. The only one I don't have is Boost, which is now Dish Network. They are building out their own network, but they currently toggle back and forth between T-Mobile and AT&T. And I was actually on their postpaid when I had them, which is called Boost Infinite. It wasn't bad, but it had like 30 or 35 gigs of high-speed data, and then it slowed down for the rest of the month. And I use way too much to be on something like that. This is the first time hearing about your grandson. So, yeah, For those that don't know, I take for granted that some of you miss stuff from time to time. My grandson, a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, had 24 seizures. Was it 24, Paula? 24 seizures in one day. I was there for most of them, and he was in really bad shape. And he's 8 years old. It was really scary. We knew he was epileptic, but something went wrong. And so they've adjusted his medicines. They've changed a lot of medicines. They're doing a lot of stuff with him. He's actually now being treated by Cook's Hospital out of Dallas, which is supposed to be really good at these type of things. They come to Lubbock some as well. They also go to Amarillo some as well. So he's got a lot of traveling in his future. My son is self-employed, owns a pretty successful mechanic shop. They do automotive as well as diesel repair. And so he's able to facilitate the transportation and things, get off work and things because it's his shop. But man, it's tough to watch, tough to see. And that kid is the coolest kid ever. So it's tough to watch him go through something like that. He spent the majority of his time in the hospital. He's in the hospital, what, Paula, 2 weeks? He's in the hospital roughly 2 weeks and spent the majority of that time, and I mean all but maybe 2 days of it in NICU, NICU. Isn't that what it was? No, PICU. PICU, Pediatric Intensive Care. My brain is scrambled, too much stress, not enough sleep, and so if I misspeak or say something wrong, she's here watching, and hopefully she'll set me straight, or hopefully you guys will set me straight. Last thing I want to do is put out incorrect information or bad information. So more than likely India. Yeah, so talking about the call centers, the 3 countries I'm getting a lot of is India, or well, I guess there's 4 countries: India, Africa, Russia, and the Philippines. Of those countries, I'd much rather deal with the Philippines. They're the friendliest. Most of the time, their English is pretty good. If they're not, you can hang up and call back, and the second person you get, their English is a lot better. But what's funny is the guy with the heavy Indian accent that goes, "Hello, this is Steve from Seattle. How can I help you?" And you're like, "I know for a fact your name ain't Steve. This is John from Cleveland. How can I help you?" And it's like, "You're not John." Turn off the GPS for my tolls. I want to go tolls anymore. Too much money. Yeah, I thought I spent a lot. I had that 1 month that I ended up, when all the dust settled, I was a little over 700 in tolls. And I thought that was a lot. And then guys were like, "Oh, I had 1,100 this month. I had 1,200 this month." But I had no idea, $20 here, $10 there, it adds up quick. And I'm purposefully avoiding the Northeast right now as much as I can. No sooner than I say that, tomorrow I'll end up booking a load up there. But I'm trying my best to stay out of the Northeast. I'm kind of wanting to do like we was talking about earlier, and maybe go to the Carolinas or something, or Georgia or Mississippi. I like that. The Southeast is nice, but I'm having a good time running around my little region of the world too. You can also just keep all your receipts and bank statements and use TurboTax. QuickBooks isn't really necessary, but it can make things a little easier. Yeah, some people were saying that what they do is they get Kevin Rutherford software, and then at the end of the year, they just print out a report and take it to their accountant. And they said their accountant's happy with that. So that might be an option as well. I just, I don't know. I like your QuickBooks idea. I'm not throwing any rocks at it for sure. I actually like your QuickBooks idea better than your TurboTax idea. But I'm hoping to get some good ideas tonight. Some of you are really shy. You're afraid to say something in here because you're afraid you'll get beat up in the comments. But if you want to email me at todd@truckertodd.net, with some suggestions, that would be okay as well. I'm really hoping to get some tax suggestions. If we don't, I may hop back in my sleeper and play the piano and sing you guys some songs. So right now my back's against the wall, but if I have to, I'll hop in the truck and get on the piano and play you some songs. I was leery of Trucker CFO. I won't be doing business with them, and I won't refer to them any drivers. I can certainly understand why you feel that way, but for legal reasons, I probably shouldn't elaborate. I use H&R Block for my taxes. I have a lady that does trucker taxes. I would be very, very, very leery of doing something as complicated as owner-operator taxes with H&R Block. Not saying you don't have a good person, but every year them and Jackson Hewitt have a class you can take here that's like 2 or 3 weeks long, and then you can do taxes. And, you know, as much money as most of us owner-operators gross in a year, you know, 200, 250,000, maybe more, depending on what you're into. You hate to risk that with somebody at a Walmart that's had 2 weeks of training. But if you got a good one that knows what they're doing, then that's great. Gary Cook says, I'm home tonight in Chicago. My truck and trailer is getting service done on both. My trailer needs new shoes. Plus, I had 2 wheel seals leaking. Plus, my truck was due for a PM. Wow. You're making some mechanics weak. He'll be buying a new boat. The tax guy sent you a cease and desist order. What a scumbag. Yeah, here's what I would say about that, and maybe I'm stepping over the line again. For what it looks like to the public perception, that's not the way I would have went. What I would have done, had the roles been reversed, I would have emailed him. I'd have said, hey, Trucker Todd, this doesn't look good for you. This doesn't look good for me. Can we work this out? You know, what's it going to take to fix this? And I'm not talking monetarily. Maybe he suggests if I apologize to you, if I explained where you've got it wrong, anything like that, could we bury the hatchet on this one? But when you do a cease and desist, and it just people think the worst. It's not a good look. It's not what I would have done. But he's a smart business guy. He thought he did what was best for his business, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Time will tell. But trucking's a different beast, and to the outside world, some of the stuff I say on this channel sounds crazy. I mean, literally crazy. But to truck drivers that have been out here and been through what we've been through, it makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I think that's why I have a lot of credibility out here and why people listen to me. And, you know, I've talked about, there's a CEO right now that he's been doing videos for a couple of weeks, puts one out every day, Monday through Friday, with a medium-sized company, and he talks directly to the drivers. And he gets less than a dozen views on every video. And, you know, it's because he's giving out good information. He's probably saying what needs to be said, but he's not saying it in a way that truck drivers will digest it. They go, oh, that's a company guy saying company things. And the same message, if they could send it through a driver and with some credibility, that message would have a lot more impact and a lot more views. And and he's a nice guy. I like his videos. I watch because, you know, he'll give some market insight and things like that. and he'll kind of talk about what's going on in the world of trucking. And he'll put out like a little 5 or 7 minute video every day, but nobody's watching it. So if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did the tree make a noise? And it's the same thing. You can put out the greatest information in the world, but if nobody watches it, did you really put out any information? LOL, you have been saying that for 3 months now. Well, I've been saying it for 3 months because it's true. If you're a company driver, yeah, H&R Block can do your taxes. Jackson Hewitt can do your taxes because it's just a W-2. But when you get into 1099s and you've got deductions and you've got self-employment taxes and all of this, a guy that's had 2 or 3 weeks worth of training, you can let them do your taxes, but I'm just not willing to risk it. And so, I mean, you can disagree with me, and you can go that way. I forgot, Wesley, if you're a company driver or if you're a lease purchase or owner operator, but I mean, you're taking a gamble, and if you're okay with that gamble, then I'm okay with you taking that gamble. I'm just telling you, I wouldn't do it. Trucker Tax Services out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yeah, Ted, I remember you saying about them, and I'll be quite honest with you, I'd forgot their name, and I was going to text you and ask you about them and kind of call them and see what I thought about them. So I may call you tomorrow and get it from you again because my brain's pretty scrambled, but it'll be after I book a load or after I give up and decide I can't book one till Monday. But yeah, I'll holler at you in the next couple of days and get that and the phone number and all that, because I want to make sure I call the right one. It'll be my luck. There's 3 of them in one town, and 2 of them are terrible, and one of them's great. Hey, Christian Harlow is here. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Does the engine brake do damage over time to the transmission as it makes my truck run at 1,800 to 2,300 RPMs? It should not hurt your engine. Your engine brake is it's designed to do that. And these new trucks, especially if you have an automatic, all of that's computer controlled now. It has to rev that high so that the engine puts some resistance against the momentum of the truck going down a hill. So I get what you're saying. If you were running at 2,300 RPMs, it would be hard on your truck. But if the truck's doing it going down a hill, it's basically just back pressure that's trying to slow you down. And you can always supplement that with like 10 or 15 pounds of brake pressure. You know, you got that gauge in your truck. And at 10 or 15 pounds of brake pressure, you should never burn your brakes up. And you should be able to provide a lot of assistance to your Jake brakes going down a hill. This is the $10 million question. And I've been asked this question a lot the last 3 or 4 weeks. My wife's over here rolling her eyes. People want to know if I wish I would have stayed at Swift. And, this kind of question is kind of the same question as, do I wish freight rates were the same as they were a couple of years ago when I was doing the OPI board at DART? Yeah, if Swift was like Swift was when I worked there at the peak, then yeah, I wish I was still there. But Swift's not the same Swift as it was then. They've made a lot of changes. They're continuing to make a lot of changes. The load board is nothing like what they sold it to me as being. And their freight's nothing like it was when I first started there. It's a lot harder to get the miles. They've lost some contracts. They're getting some new contracts. And they've made some policy changes. They've made some contractual changes. So do I miss the Swift of when I worked there and things were great? Yeah. Do I miss the Swift as it is now, nah. I like the freedom and everything that I've got now. I may not make as much money as I made at Swift, but I've got a lot more freedom, a lot less micromanagement. I mean, the owner of this company talks to me like a person, like an equal, and these companies talk to you like an employee-employer relationship, like they've got their thumb over you. And this guy that I'm leased onto, he's got his thumb on me. I mean, I run under his authority, but he doesn't make it so obvious. He treats me like an equal. We have adult conversations. We both speak to each other respectfully. And so I like the situation I'm in a lot better now. Do I miss Dart? Yeah, when OPI was great and rates were over $3 a mile, yeah, I miss that. But it's not that way anymore. They don't even let people on the OPI board over there anymore. So do I miss Dart at $1.50 a mile or $1.60 a mile? No, not really. I like what I'm doing now and the freedom I have now. QuickBooks. So a lot of you are saying you just do it through QuickBooks. It'd be real easy to do. I've got the laptop right here. Scan everything in. It'd be real easy to do. Quarterly taxes are due by tomorrow for all of those in here who are 1099 like myself. Well, there you go. I've been trying to avoid the tax discussion, and I've heard different accountants say different things. For example, I used to have an accountant named Perryman and Associates, and I don't think they're around anymore. But his argument was, don't even file your quarterly taxes because of what you pay in additional accounting fees and things like that is going to be more than the penalty that the IRS charges you at the end of the year. So he was like, you'll actually save money if you don't do your quarterlies and you save up till the end of the year. More recently, I had an accountant that many of you are familiar with on here that suggested you do your quarterly taxes. And he sent me little estimates of what my taxes would be and things like that. And so, yeah, but for those of you that are filing your quarterly taxes, they're due tomorrow. And I appreciate you sharing that, OTR, Vic. What are you seeing rate per mile out there right now? Really depends on where you're at and what you're hauling. Here lately, I've been doing a lot of loads in the 250 to 270 a mile range. That little short one I did was a little over $3 a mile. It was, what was it? 130 miles roughly, and it paid $504. So they are there, but you got to dig a lot harder. So there'll be, and I've said this before, there'll be loads on there, and 80% of them aren't worth looking at, and 20% are decent, and there's a whole bunch of us fighting for that 20%. And you can't look on there, see a load, go to lunch, think about it, and come back and book it. If it's on there and it's decent, you better grab it, because if you don't, the guy beside you is going to grab it. Okay, Wesley. Her husband's been driving 30 years. That's why. So this is a different situation. This is a case of it's the exception to the rule. So she's probably great at doing trucker taxes, not because she works at H&R Block, but because her husband's a truck driver. Anything I say on here, and maybe it's time for me to say it again, anything I say on here is in generalities. I'm talking to a wide audience. There's only 34 in here right now, but several hundred people will watch it in the next 24 hours. And obviously everything for every person that watches this video. If you've got somebody that's great, I would say it's because her husband's a truck driver and not because she got H&R Block training. Trucking Narcissist is here. Thanks for coming in, man. Yeah, was it you? Sorry, I got some caramel in my mouth and it's sticking to my teeth. Was it you that was telling me that you used the Kevin Rutherford stuff, and then at the end of the year you print it out and give it to your accountant, and they're happy with that? Somebody told me, but I can't remember who it was. H&R Block messed me up bad one year. They promised they had someone who was a truck tax professional. I had to get it all redone correctly. Won't use H&R Block for business truck taxes anymore. Well, and all of those big companies, sorry, I won't be eating no more of those while I'm on the air. My wife's over here laughing at me. All of those big tax companies, they all kind of snitch on each other. They'll say, hey, if ABC Bookkeeping did your taxes last year, bring it to us and let us rework it for free. We guarantee you they made a mistake. And so that tells you that, I mean, they can do, if you work at the 7-Eleven, they can do your taxes and there won't be any problems. And if you qualify for, a rapid refund, which rapid now means in a few weeks instead of next day like it used to, then they're fine. If you're a W-2 employee, they're probably fine. But I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize how complex your taxes can be. About a video on bankruptcy. Yeah, I'm not at that point yet, but I got really, really close at one point, and I've got one more big mountain to climb in the coming weeks, and that's going to be the real test where the rubber meets the road, if I survive or not. And so, but yeah, it would be cool to do a video on that. Problem is, bankruptcy is a legal proceeding, and I'm not a lawyer. I realize I might look like one. I might be smart like one. I might have a silver tongue like a lot of them. But believe it or not, shock of all shocks, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a tax professional. I'm just a truck driver on here giving my opinion. The only difference between me and you is I turn my camera on my cell phone 6 or 8 hours a week. And other than that, we're just alike. You go into truck stops, you give your opinion. I come on here and sit in front of my camera and give my opinion. And the Lord has blessed me with a lot of people that enjoy watching it. And I'm grateful for each and every one of them. Oh, hell no, don't do that. My ears can't handle that. But used QuickBooks after I left ATBS. Yeah, well, there's a lot of history between me and ATBS. And so they're kind of like, let me see, and I may get another cease and desist after this video. ATBS is like that person you used to date that they're bad for you and you had a lot of bad experiences. But when you're single on a Friday night sitting in your house, you think, I might give them a call one more time. ATBS looks really tempting right now because I don't have anybody. But I know where that road goes. And I think QuickBooks is probably a better answer for me. But, part of me's tempted. Well, maybe I should give them a call. Maybe I should hear what they have to say. And part of me's like, you've been down that road. You know better. So we'll see what I do. But I'm glad I got you guys here to bounce ideas off of. And y'all can tell me what works for you. So far, the overwhelming winner is QuickBooks. A lot of you are standing behind that, saying that's the way to go. But my friend Ted that's in here, he's a good guy. And if he tells me this place in Michigan's good too, I'll check them out as well. Tim, this lady's been doing taxes for 30 years. Again, that well, I don't want to bash on your lady, Wesley, but you would think in 30 years' time of working at H&R Block that maybe she would start her own practice if she'd been doing it that long. Or I don't know. I just know in Lubbock, Jackson Hewitt, and H&R Block both have training centers, and I can go to class for 3 weeks. I think it is 3 or 6 weeks, and I can become a tax professional, and I can sit at Walmart with a laptop and do your taxes. And when it comes to owner operator taxes, I can probably screw them up just as bad as the next guy. Pablo is here. Hey, thank you for being here, my friend. Todd, this lady's been doing my taxes for 30 years. This lady is not a drive-by-night. I never called her a drive-by-night. Matter of fact, I called her an exception to the rule. It's very possible she's great, especially if her husband's a truck driver. But you got to remember that on here, if I say, all right, everybody go to H&R Block, then everybody's going to run down to their local Walmart or their local strip mall where H&R Block is. And well over 90% of them are going to have their taxes either done incorrectly or not to the full extent that they should have been done. If you found one lady that happens to work for H&R Block that does a good job for you, that doesn't make her fly by night, but it does make her in the minority at these large tax accounting companies. Do you think she's going to screw over your husband? No. And again, if she knows what she's doing, then great. But the average one you see at these large accounting places. All right, Wesley, I gave you your chance. Now I'm fixing to fix this. I was hoping the moderators would do this, but hang on. All right, there we go. So Wesley won't be joining us for the rest of tonight. He's going to get his taxes done. Jakes are your best friend as an owner op. They will give your brake pads longer lifespan. Yeah, that is true. I agree with that. Not yet, very soon. That's what I was saying. Maybe, it was supposed to be mid-September, which is actually tomorrow. I might need a little more time. The owner went out to get some trailers at the end of the month and hasn't got any yet. He can get them real quick if he has to. But we're working on when I can say. But, yeah, it won't be much longer for sure. Good for you, Wesley. I just had a bad time with them and won't ever do it again. The man I used had 37 years experience, and they didn't back his negligent work. Gregory Spears is here. Thanks for being here, man. I've been delivering new day cab Cascadias to Tunnel Hill almost every day. Yeah, that's turning out to be a real good deal for you. That's another thing that I wanted to put on here today and get you guys' help with. My truck is going to be getting some extensive work done on it within the next couple of weeks. It's going to be down for probably 3 to 4 weeks. If you guys know of any places that hire temporary drivers, like doing what you're doing or something, Christian, I don't want to leave where I'm at, but I might be interested in doing something on a temporary basis with another company. And I wouldn't be screwing over my current company or nothing like that. I would run everything by him. I would do it with his full knowledge and consent. But yeah, if there's something like that available, doing what you're doing, Christian, please let me know. No pullback with U.S. Express, as they have gotten 10 trucks just from me in the last few days. I do drive away. Yeah, if your drive away place would let me do that for 3 or 4 weeks, I might be interested in something like that. I used to have a deal like that with a truck dealership here in Lubbock, and they've since gone out of business. I used to fly out and bring trucks back to Lubbock to their dealership that they were planning to sell. And I also did one or several for their sister dealership down in Odessa, but Odessa's a little far to be doing that now. But if there's anything like that where you're at, Christian, please let me know. I already ran my tax penalty for not paying estimated taxes, and it's going to be $31. Not worried about it. Yeah, there you go. How did older truck drivers find shippers and receivers' exact location before Google Maps and portable cell phones? So back in the day, and you can go to some of these old Flying J's and still see it. They used to have a row by the driver's lounge of payphones, and they had big screens in there. And you looked on the big screen. You made a list of about 2 or 3 loads you was interested on, and then you ran in a phone booth and you called the brokers, and that's also how you got directions to where you was going to pick up your load or where you was going to deliver. And then you got out your big road atlas and you looked up everything and planned your route and all of that. Definitely cell phones made a big improvement. You also had to buy prepaid phone cards, and they had several different you could choose from with different rates and stuff. And instead of calling your family multiple times a day or every day, most people just called their family once or twice a week because it was expensive to do. Have you thought about trying to secure your own accounts to keep you rolling in that $2 to $3 range? Yeah, and I talked about this on a video a couple of weeks ago. So I do that with brokers now. I've got 2 brokers that have a special file, and they know where I'm at and what I like to do. And if they have anything, they call me first. And I've got some more here in Lubbock that I'm about to set up with, but we're waiting until I get those repairs done on my truck. And so, yeah, I've got some like that. The problem you got, and I was saying about this one broker, he has loads out of Colorado that come back to Texas. And he said, we were talking about the rate one day, and he said he's got another broker that's in competition with him that pulls those loads as a backhaul, and he always underbids him so bad that guy usually gets about 80% of those loads, and he usually gets about 20% of them. They just kind of use him when the other guy can't cover them. So the same problem we have in trucking with where I'll bid on a load, I'll bid $2,500 on a load, and instead of somebody bidding $2,400, they'll come in and bid $1,100 or $1,200. And we've got the same thing. The brokers have the same problem. They'll bid what they think they need to make on the load and what they think they need to have drivers that'll pull the freight. And then somebody will come out of nowhere and just undercut them so bad that it brings the rates down. And there's another company that if I said the name of it, most of you'd go, oh, that's the best company in trucking. You get on their load board and look, and you can tell that it's rigged. Most of their rates for whatever the load is, wherever it picks up, wherever it goes, is around $1.80, $1.90 a mile. Is it a coincidence? Maybe, but probably not. Yes, I did mean less micromanagement. I'm not sure if that's what I said or not. Yeah, I agree with Tim. They used payphones and got directions. Yeah, I had like a little spiral. I wrote it in. Yep, from brokers and shippers and final delivery destinations. Hey, Rose, thanks for being here. Who got bought out by ATBS? So it was Midlife that was telling me that he uses Rutherford software and then prints it out for his accountant. I knew somebody told me, but I couldn't remember who it was. Thank you for clearing that up there, Midlife. Does your accountant give you the choice of truck depreciation or actual expenses? I was told you have to choose one or the other. I deduct actually expenses, but can't depreciate the truck. So every accountant I've ever had discussed it with you. I'll say that the ones I bought, the ones you lease purchase, you don't get depreciation on those, or that's what they told me. But you got to deduct the full truck lease payment. Timback trucking these days, people are too rude to give directions. Yeah, a lot of these warehouses have like an automated deal. When you call in, it'll say for directions, press 1, and it'll tell you. But I rarely need it because between GPS and things like that, I can usually figure out where the place is at, maps and things like that. The logistics manager index made a turn in positive direction for first time in a few months. It's a good leading indicator of improving conditions. Yeah, I hope you're right, Greg. I've felt like it's getting better the last week or two, but I'm a natural optimist. I like it a lot more when you guys tell me you feel like it's getting better too, because then I think I hadn't lost my mind. Hey, Todd, sorry I'm late. I'm at a place we're both familiar with in Lancaster. The CEO was there earlier today, or well, I guess he was there yesterday. I'm very familiar with that terminal. For grins, when you're in there, tell them Trucker Todd said hi. You can use free fileable forms on the IRS website. Yeah, that would be a nightmare and a train wreck. People don't realize my taxes are usually around 50 pages. Sometimes, high 40s, sometimes high 50s, but right in that range, depending on what I had going on that year. If I had to handwrite all that out and figure it with a calculator and not make a mistake, it would be A, time consuming, and B, there'd be a great chance of error. So I'm definitely going to use some computer software that'll red flag me if I've made a mistake. Or because of how busy I stay, I'm probably just going to delegate that to an accountant that I trust that I think can get me through it. Check with U-Haul and Ryder about truck relocation. Yeah, they have that here on a part-time basis, which would be great. But they don't want you for temporary. They want you for basically they want you to plan on staying. But we've got a Ryder and a Penske and a U-Haul. Well, we got lots of U-Hauls here, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. But you never know. Sometimes some people said I should talk to some of these YouTubers that have trucks and see if I could run with them for 3 or 4 weeks. But I want to be very clear. I'm not looking for another job. I like it where I'm at. He's looking to see if he can help me get a rental truck with his size and stature. He may be able to get me a better deal than what I could get myself. So at this point, we're just looking at options, and best thing I can do is throw it out there and see what options pop up at me. But that's a good one, Midlife. And I'll definitely look into that. Oh, boy. So it's on the passenger side, it's got some body panels that are starting to come loose and separate, and they're going to go in there and fix that. I don't want it to leak water or get, water damage or things like that. And so they're going to take care of that, get that stuff fixed. You might be better off renting a truck for 3 weeks, maybe a day cab, and just do local stuff. Yeah, maybe. And I know a lot of people, I might could come up with a day cab. The thing you got to think about though is like if you get it from Ryder or Penske or any of those, they usually want you to put up about a $5,000 deposit, which is roughly a month's worth of truck payments, which is no big deal if you get that money back like they say you do. But then you've also got the insurance. You're basically insuring two trucks at the same time and things like that. So you got to be real careful. You guys may not remember when I was at Roadrunner, I had that 2015 Volvo, and it had recaps on the drives. And one of the recaps on the passenger side came loose and slapped the side of my cab, tore my tank up, tore my side skirt off. It did a lot of damage. And Roadrunner helped me rent a truck, and I worked my tail off for several weeks, I think 2 or 3 weeks, and I was making chicken scratch because you just have that, you have double the overhead then. And so I think I would have been better off just sitting at home that 2 or 3 weeks than I would have been running that rental truck. And that truck was uncomfortable, ugly, plain Jane. It was a rough truck. So nothing on Roadrunner. It was, they didn't know I showed up at Ryder Penske, whoever it was. I don't even remember now. And they said, this is the only truck we got. Take it or leave it. I thought, I'll take it. And yeah, but that's what I'd say about that. But yeah, a day cab would be cool. Just have to get a hotel or something if I didn't make it back one night. Tim is slacking again. For 42 years now, I file my taxes yearly, not quarterly. It works for me. May not work for all. Yeah, I think so. I think, it definitely benefits the accountant if you file quarterly because they get to charge you for doing quarterly estimates and all of that. But from what a lot of accountants have told me, you're just as good to wait till the end of the year and file and pay the penalty because the penalty is not that much compared to what you pay in additional accounting fees. I was told not to kick someone for disagreeing. Todd changed the rule on his own. But no, let me tell you what he did. He put a comment on there that went over the line. And let me see if I can find it. And I'll send it to you. We've had problems with him before too. You go back and read his comments. I can't find it without stopping the show and looking for it. He had several that went over the line, and I'll give you a call after the show, and I'll give you specifics. But yeah, we'll talk about it later, Tim. Sorry if I missed it. What's the commentary on ATBS? Several people said I should not do it. Like I said, they've made some changes since when I was there. I don't mind having a discussion with them. I don't know if I would or would not go back to them. But I've got to do something pretty quick. I've either got to go to an accountant, whether it's them, whether it's, QuickBooks, whether it's that place in Michigan that Ted was talking about, something like that. But I got to do something here pretty quick. Yeah, I want to be careful giving tax advice. I don't want to get in trouble. I'll tell you what my understanding is, and then I'll tell you guys to consult with a tax professional. On a purchase, you can do depreciation, or you can take depreciation over 5 or 6 years, something like that. I don't believe you can do mileage on a commercial vehicle like that. Mileage is more like when you're using your personal vehicle for work-related stuff. The accountant that we used to have on the show talked about it in one of the episodes, and that was my understanding of it. If you're doing lease purchase, you can deduct the entire lease purchase payment. And so that's I'm a lot more familiar with that than I am with this other. And I'm sure somebody's going to say that I'm saying it wrong. That's fine. If I've got it wrong, contact your tax professional and get the facts from them. Also, it may vary state to state. I don't have a clue. Once again, let me say it. I'm not a tax professional. Might try American Tax Associates. They should have someone in your area. All they do is truck taxes. Yeah, that's another good one. I need to be writing these down. So we got Ted, American Tax Associates. We got QuickBooks. Trucker Path gives pretty good reviews and maps with entrances marked. Yeah, Trucker Path's not too bad. Also, there's an app called Smart Truck Route 2. I bought a lifetime membership years ago. Now I think the longest they've got is like a 2 or 3 year membership, but it's pretty good. I have that Garmin also. It works really well. I've got the Kenworth with the touchscreen on the dash. It's not great, but sometimes it'll work in a pinch if you can't find the address anywhere else. Hey, Manny's here. Good evening, everyone. Is it a bad sign when you have squeaky brakes? My 2023 Cascadia squeaks when I'm stopped, but I just got the truck 4 months ago. My old Pete had 2 years, no squeaky brakes. So I can answer this from a different perspective from when I was a service rider. A lot of people think squeaky brakes mean they're bad. Not necessarily. They can have dirt or rust or something in there making the squeaky noise. You really need to get under your truck and visually inspect your brakes. Make sure that you don't have any cracked drums or cracked pads. Make sure you have plenty of pad on there, things like that. And yeah, visual inspection's the way you need to check your brakes. And squeaking doesn't necessarily mean you have bad brakes. We'd have people show up at the shop all the time. Hey, I got bad brakes. Well, how do you know? Well, they're squeaking. In a car, grinding metal, they have a little flap that hangs over. And when that little flap hangs over and rubs, that's how you know it's time to buy brakes. On trucks, you can look at the pads and tell they have a V. And when it gets to the bottom part of the V, that's when you need to replace your pads. And, of course, they can't have any cracks in the drum or the pads. But just squeaking doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. It could just be dirt or something like that in there. And a lot of times that squeaking will go away after a few days of using your brakes. Going to do Texas runs through Saturday, see the Cowboys on Sunday. I've never been to a Cowboys game, but I'd love to go. Axle B, new brakes can do that, but if it continues any longer, take it to get it checked out. May just need an adjustment. Yeah, and that's why I say the visual inspection's good. Save yourself that diag fee. Look at it yourself first, and then if you're not sure, take it to a shop. But Tim's right, new brakes can squeak, and cheaper brake pads will squeak, depending on what compounds they use to make the brakes, things like that. A lot of people think a brake pad's a brake pad. There's no difference, and there is differences in quality and things like that. Perryman and Associates was bought out by ATBS. Oh, okay, Michael, thanks. I didn't realize that. Talk to Red Ryder and deliver groceries for a couple of weeks. Oh, that's funny. I highly recommend Trucker Path for GPS. It isn't perfect, but it's very close. Also has the social aspect where drivers add things like pictures of entrances, detailed advice on where to go. Yeah, that's probably a good recommendation, especially for guys that money's kind of tight in this economy and they can't afford to go out and buy, an $800 trucker GPS. And let me say this before I get everybody riled up at me. There is no perfect trucker GPS. They all make mistakes. They'll all get you in a pickle from time to time. Same thing if you're using Google Maps. Google Maps is for cars, not for trucks. It may work most of the time, but sometimes it'll get you in a pickle too. There's still nothing better than pulling out your road atlas and trip planning your trip and knowing where you're going, planning where you're stopping, planning where you're fueling. The more time and effort you put into planning your trip and doing it correctly, the more likely you're going to arrive where you want to arrive when you want to get there. Tim back trucking. Oh, good to know. I'll take it to the shop. Just had a tire replaced. Maybe that's why. All right, Tim, we'll just have to agree to disagree. How's that? Hey, everyone, just woke up. I'm in the sleeper. Stop driving soon. All right, glad you made it. Thanks for being here. No, I'm not with them anymore. To be honest, if you want to pay estimated taxes, the best thing to do is get EFTPS and send 10% of each settlement you get to the IRS. After deductions, you should be close and not have penalties. I've had good luck with ATBS. Been using the same rep for 3 years. We have monthly conversations where we go over my P&L. Yeah, I never had that success with them. Like I said, they may have improved or got better. And I know you and I have talked about them before on the phone. ATBS works okay when you're with a mega carrier or other company, but I don't like them for IC owner op in my opinion. Manny says Hammer is a decent GPS and it's free. Everyone has always been able to voice their opinions, but respectfully. Yeah, that's right, Michael. Exactly. When somebody comes on and starts making comments like that, saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, things like that. And my moderators not only don't take them out, but defend them. Yeah, I got to get them. I got to get them out of here. That don't work. Thank you for that input about ATBS, Robbie and Tim. The perfect GPS is using 6 at once. Yeah, get 6 GPSs and basically take a vote between all 6 of them and the majority wins. I agree with Todd. There's no GPSs that get anything right in the major metropolitan cities. Yeah, I think it was my Rand McNally tried to kill me. I was in Kansas City going over a bridge, and I got out on the middle of that bridge, and it was telling me to make a right turn. If I'd have made a right turn there, it would have been probably a 300-foot fall into a large body of water. So you got to use some, and then it ended up telling me to turn right at the bottom of the bridge, which got me in a really sketchy neighborhood. The atlas was obsolete the day it was printed. For the last 3 years, the atlas said you could take. Yeah, that's true, but it's better than what a lot of these guys are using. A lot of these guys are blindly trusting their GPSs, and they're getting themselves in trouble. And, I've had times where my GPS will just have me going in a circle. It'll tell you, go up 3 blocks, turn left, go up 3 blocks, turn left. And you're just making a big square. And in instances like that, you need to have looked at your GPS and go, okay, no, your atlas, and no, okay, this is wrong. What I should have done was get on the interstate here, go up to this exit, get off here. Now, where a GPS is handy is at night. So at night you're driving and it's, you're supposed to turn right on the road and you're on this dark road where you can't see real well. It'll kind of help you see where the road is and where to turn. But you still are to be verifying everything through your atlas. And my Garmin even has an atlas built into it. So I don't even need the big paper copy anymore. and it hooks to the internet, so it gets updates all the time. Technology is constantly improving, and it's 1,000 times better now in that part of trucking than it ever was back in the day. Also, people would help you a lot more. Everybody was on the CB radio, and you could say, hey, I don't know where this warehouse is. And somebody'd come on and say, oh, driver, are you in that red truck? Just go up here to this exit and go here. And it's not like that now. You could yell on the CB for hours and nobody respond back. If my brakes start squeaking, that's not good. I got disc brakes. Well, even disc brakes will squeak sometimes. Like I say, all they got to do is get a little dirt in there. A truck that's been sitting for a while. If you're a company driver and you come home and you take your week vacation and come back and they didn't drive your truck while you were gone, a lot of times the brakes will squeak when you get back in. It doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with them, but what I would say, especially on here, is err on the side of caution. Look your brakes over to the best of your abilities. And then if you've still got concerns about safety or things like that, then get somebody to look at them. Pay somebody, like TA and Petro, a lot of times they do a free mid-trip inspection. When you take it in for that mid-trip, say, hey, my brakes are squeaking. Can you look my brakes over extra careful and make sure they're okay? And have them look at it too. But just because they squeak doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. I'm not defending him at all. I'm defending myself. You know him better than me. So I wasn't sure if I should boot him. Next one. Okay. Like I said, we'll talk about it later, Tim. I run 2 standalone GPS and 2 on one Android and 2 on another. Dang. Now you are GPSed to the max. Yeah, and a lot of the new GPSs have either lifetime updates or 2 years worth of updates, or you can purchase updates. You want to update them, but they can still be wrong. And, you know, there can still be changes, construction and stuff that the GPS company isn't aware of. So it's still not a bad idea to look at an atlas or to run it on a second GPS, get a second opinion, things like that. Also, I look on Google Earth a lot at the place I'm going to. And if I see anything that I've got a question about or something, I picked up a load of talc the other day, which I think is like talcum powder. It's a fine white powder. And, you know, my one GPS, my Garmin, couldn't find the address. And so I called the guy and he was laughing. He's like, oh yeah, it's kind of weird how you get here. And he gave me directions how to get there. And he's like, now this one corner is really tight, so make sure you swing wide for it. So it made the trip safer because I knew what to expect before I got there. Paula, can you text Jonathan and tell him I'm on a show? Tell him I'll call him back later. Before GPS, we had to use an actual atlas book and had to go state sites to look up construction, road closures, truck routes and stuff. Yeah, and make sure there was no low clearances, no truck restrictions, things like that. And a lot of us take that stuff for granted now. Now the CB tells you who isn't wearing panties in the truck stop. Yeah, that's funny. And, you know, what gets me is you'll come up on an accident and nobody mentions it on the CB. And, you know, the CB used to be a safety device, and it was a pretty good radar detector too. But now nobody will be on the CB. They're all texting. They all got their feet on the dash. Some of them are watching YouTube or Netflix. It's a different breed out there right now. What, Paula? Did he say anything? Many truckers don't leave their CBs on until they get into a traffic jam. I'm guilty of that. I like to say I leave mine on probably 60% of the time, but sometimes I'll have so many phone calls coming in that I'll turn it off so that I don't have the static if I don't have it squelched out enough, or or something like that. Yeah, midlife. He's funny tonight. I never understood that one anyway. We were talking about this on the phone the other day, me and a couple of drivers. Sayings that we've heard since we were a kid that really don't make any sense. For example, I ain't got any panties on. None of us men probably do. I don't have panties on. I bet Tim don't have panties on. It makes no sense. How about it's raining cats and dogs? Has anybody ever been anywhere where it was raining cats and dogs, where cats and dogs were falling out of the sky? How did that saying even come up with? Some of the sayings are just crazy. Oh, John makes a great point. Thank you for this, John. Glazed brakes squeak. Also, try not to grease your S-cams. Yeah, great point, John. Thank you for that. Careful hauling white powder gets you in trouble. Yeah, I don't know what it was about that talc powder, that very fine white powder. But after I hauled it, I was able to stay awake for like 4 days. And it curbed my appetite too. I found myself not as hungry. I have mine on, but low because of all the BS you have to listen to. Yeah, I can remember back in the day, some of the times I was the one creating the BS, but not anymore. All right, Tim. What's up, DIY? Thank you for being here. Hey, DIY, we had something come up I wanted to ask you about. My truck's going to be down in a few weeks for probably 2 or 3 weeks. Do you know of any temporary driving jobs? I'm not looking to leave my current carrier. I'm very happy here, but my truck's going to be down for a few weeks, and I would like to remain gainfully employed during that time. And I know I can rent a truck, and that's definitely something that's being looked at. But if there's somebody that needs a seat filled for a few weeks, I might be interested in that as well, if you know of anything. Brother, are the good old are gone? No one helps anybody anymore with directions or anything else with that. Yes, sir, I agree with you. It's sad times we live in. And I mentioned TikTok earlier, that I'm trying to get the TikTok thing going. What a sad, sad platform. People starved for attention, doing things to degrade themselves, just so people will pay attention to them. It's a sad world we live in now. I didn't know that. Thanks for that, Midlife. You can search addresses in the diesel and send it to the Garmin. I may have to get in contact with you and have you teach me how to do it. I don't use the diesel portion of it because it wants to get into my text messages and answer my phone calls and all that kind of stuff, and it confuses my stuff. But you may be talking about something I'm not aware of. I'm not totally familiar of everything on that Garmin. I might need to get in contact with you and have you educate me a little bit. So Tim wants me to correct this. As I said earlier in the video, I don't want to give out bad information. I was mistaken. I assumed that Tim was not wearing panties, but according to Tim's comment here, he said I was wrong. So I guess Tim is publicly announcing that he is in panties. Oh, that's funny. You guys are funny. Man, I really like these candies, but they stick to my teeth and they're hard to They're hard to talk and do a show. Then Microsoft came out with street maps. Yeah, I haven't messed with that any. I use Google Earth a lot, and especially if I'm trying to figure out if there'll be a place to park outside the warehouse till it's time for my appointment, or if I'm looking to see uh, how to get in there, something like that, where the entrance might be. So I use Google Earth quite a bit. Tim's laughing. In Garmin Bluetooth settings, uncheck phone. Okay, yeah, I think I've done that, but I think when I turn diesel on, it turns it back on. I wish I had it here in front of me so we could go through it together. Robbie Ross with the donation. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. How about them Cowboys? Yeah, after that last game, it was funny to listen to commentators that were just shocked. It was let's be honest, Dak wasn't great, but he doesn't have to be. If the team will play like that, he could be average, and they could go well into the postseason. And, he didn't really play in preseason, so, I'm sure he's a little rusty. I think everything's going to be fine, but the Jets, we were thinking the Jets were going to be a test, and then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt 5 minutes into their game that they had, so I doubt we're going to go up against Aaron Rodgers, and I think the Cowboys are looking pretty good against the Jets as well. All right, I'm going against what I said. I'm going to eat another one of these caramels. Can we all give a shout out to the Detroit Lions? I'm not a fan, but man, are they a long time coming. I've got the 800. One of my viewers gave it to me, and brand new in the box. He had an extra one, and I liked it so much better than my Rand McNally that's what I've been using. But I've also got a Rand McNally that's just sitting here. I think it's over there by Paula right now. Where is my Rand McNally, Polly? Paula. I called her Polly. It was in that corner. Is it gone? Oh, okay. Tim is a Steelers fan, and week 1 was a complete disappointment. I didn't hear how Kansas City did. Did anybody hear about the Kansas City game? Matthew Miller is here. Thanks for being here. I said this earlier today. We were eating at lunch today at a restaurant, and they were showing football replays on the TV. I told my wife, I'm so glad football's back on. Of course, she was just excited as I am. No, she's not a huge sports fan, but she does watch the Cowboys sometimes. What do you say? Ah, my son is in here watching. Hey, thanks for being here. I'll call you after the show. Lions beat them 21-20. You're kidding. The Lions beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I was better off not knowing. So what else y'all got tonight? We've been going an hour and 35 minutes. I've still got my voice. I've said plenty to get myself in trouble, but if y'all can think of something else I need to talk about to get myself in more trouble, or that I'll have to explain tomorrow, or that might get me another cease and desist, go ahead and send it. Okay, Midlife has some help for me. Settings, wireless network, Bluetooth, uncheck, hands-free. See, I think I did those things, but I'm more interested in the thing you was talking about where it will it will help me find the address if the regular GPS doesn't know where it is, where I can transfer it from the diesel over. No, Chris and their tight end was out too. Ah, okay. All right, that makes a little more sense then. That makes a little more sense then. Somebody else said, oh, yeah. Yep. Man, I should have just called you. You got to see all the games. I was so proud of myself that I got to listen to the Cowboys on satellite radio for the most part. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Jets game ended in a crazy way. Game went to overtime. Buffalo punted, and the Jets player ran the punt back for 6. Yeah, I saw the clip of that. That was crazy. Oh, please do. I'm subscribed to you, so if you do a video on it, I'll see it. Or if you just do a personal one for me, that's cool too. I'm going to go to treatment after thinking about it about Tim and panties. Well, I don't think Tim wanted me to announce this, but I think later this year he's releasing a swimsuit calendar, and he'll be modeling those panties in each of the months. From what I hear, March is pretty spicy for Tim. I'm laughing about the Jets, all that Aaron Rodgers drama, and after 4 plays, he's gone for a year. Well, that's why you got to love the NFL, because you can start the season with this great team, and then just a couple of injuries can wipe out your whole season. They have a way 2 major picks and all that money. Yeah, they definitely invested a lot in Aaron Rodgers. And from what I understand, that's like a 5 or 6 month recovery time for that injury. But I haven't heard the latest, if maybe it wasn't as severe as they thought it was. But he's not a spring chicken anymore either. And the older you are, the longer it takes to heal. I'm just joking with you. All right, we've been going an hour and 40 minutes, and it's kind of slowing down on here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I need to make several phone calls and get on the spot market and look for loads and things like that. They lost a 1 and 2 and huge money. This may be his last time suiting up. Yeah, that would stink if it was, but it's possible. Owada has half-price membership now, 2 years for $50, lots of benefits. Good people helping me stay in compliance. Yeah, I just talked to them on the phone yesterday, and they didn't mention anything about that. I'm going to have to give them a call. If I could add 2 years for $50, that'd be the way to go. Thanks for letting us know about that, John. I'll definitely check on that. What lease purchase company are good now? That's a tough question to answer. I'm not real big on any of them right now, just because of the market. When things get better, there may be some good opportunities. But right now, you're going to really struggle in a lease purchase, in my opinion. If you could wait a few months, I think it'd be a better time. And when we come out of this little depression or recession or whatever you want to say we're in trucking, then I'll tell you some good places and things like that. But right now, I don't think there's any good options. I think most of you Could make more money as a company driver right now than you could doing a lease purchase. That calendar goes on sale on Todd's YouTube channel in January. Oh, that's funny, Tim. That's funny. That was a joke. I know some of you are getting excited out there. Tim is a very straight white male. There's no bikini shots. He does not wear panties. We're joking on here. He's a good guy and a good friend. That's why we tease him. Did you get that APU fixed or estimate on the repair? Hadn't even messed with it. There's been a lot. I just got back and, Thermo King's Monday through Friday type deal. I was going to get it looked at. When was it, Paula? Monday. Well, Monday I put it in the shop for some other stuff. Today I was planning to take it over and get it looked at. And because of what happened with my wife's phone and with my prescriptions and all that, I didn't get it done. And since the truck's going to be going down in a couple of weeks anyway, I hadn't decided if I'm going to fix it now or just wait till the other repairs get done and get it fixed then. I've also got a service that'll be coming due in about 10,000 miles. And I may just wait and do it at the same time I do the service. I haven't decided yet. Anthony says 10-4. Yeah, I've always been honest with you guys, and I don't want to be on here jumping up and down talk about how great lease purchase is when I think right now it's probably not a great idea. Got Tim laughing now. Have a good night, Todd and Chad. If I'm up if you want to sort things out, call me anytime. Yeah, let's talk tomorrow. It's going to be kind of a long night. There's no hard feelings, Tim. There's a little bit of backstory with that guy, and I'm not blaming you. You didn't know the backstory, but he's done. I'm done with him. Is January 2024 the Tim Back Thong collection comes out? Oh, gosh. It's too late at night. Oh, that's funny. Robbie's laughing too. Yeah, if Aaron can't come back at 100%. Never hard feelings, and I understand, my friend. All right, Tim, have a good night. I agree with you, generally speaking, Manny. Here's the deal on that. It also depends what happens in Congress, because we could have the best Republican president ever, whoever you think that is. And if we get a Democratic Congress, they're not going to let anything happen. Or we could have the worst Democratic president back in office that you could ever imagine. And if we had an all-Republican Congress, they could kind of force him to the right a little bit. We saw that happen with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton got forced to do a lot of things he didn't want to do because of the Republican Congress. Contract with America and all of that with Newt Gingrich and all of that. So what you really want is an all one party to win it if you want to see a lot of change. And it depends what change you want to see. An all Democratic, presidency and Congress, you're going to see a lot more environmental stuff. You're going to see a lot more things go to the left. An all right Republican Congress and presidency, you're going to see things more pro-business, more conservative going to the right, hopefully. So it really depends on what you want to see happen in the government. But things have gone in such a direction now that we need one party to get control and go whatever direction the country wants them to go. Gregory Spears said, LOL. You just fried Todd's eyes because he's seen me in person. LOL. Oh, gosh. I was reading yellow executives gave themselves big bonuses before the bankruptcy. Such losers. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's that whole situation. Sometimes things so crazy happen. I don't know what to say. Just shake my head. It just they knew that they affected a lot of families, and they didn't do the right thing. But I don't know. I guess look out for number one is what happened there. Can you imagine if we had two presidents? One was Democrat and one was Republican. Nothing would get done. Well, what's funny is, you know, I was thinking back to George W. Bush when he had the debate with Al Gore, and Al Gore come over and stood beside Bush, and Bush just kind of looked him up and down like, "What are you doing?" and kept talking. But back in the old days in Congress, they actually had some fist fights that broke out. And in other countries, sometimes you'll see it on YouTube where their parliaments and their congresses will just bust out into a fight. And some of these companies, or I mean, some of these politicians, we've taught them to be so sissified and not stand up for themselves and so politically correct that you wonder, like Ted Cruz, I think Ted Cruz would deck some of these people if he had a chance. And but yeah, it's a mess. It really is a mess. We do that political channel. I'm going to have a lot to talk about. Hey, Miss Mother Trucker's here. What have I missed? I just got here. Hey, Todd. Hey, Miss Mother Trucker. Glad you could make it in. We were talking. I started the show complaining about call centers having foreigners working them and not being able to speak good English. And you're trying to talk to them about technical issues like billing or a problem with the device, and they can't understand you and you can't understand them. And I don't see the purpose of having a customer service department if they can't provide customer service. And then we talked about some issues I was having getting some prescriptions filled today. And then we got into talking about I need to find another tax accounting service. And people made several good recommendations. And we also discussed that my truck's going to be down in a few weeks, and I'm not looking for replacement employment. I love the company I met, and he's currently looking at trying to help me get a rental truck while mine is down. But if I could find somewhere looking for a temporary driver for 2 or 3 weeks, that might be something I'd be interested in as well. So if you know anything about any of those things, I would welcome your comments and input on those things. Democrats and Republican years ago were one party. Yeah, and the problem with both parties right now is I don't know that either one of them stand for anything. And what I mean by that is let's pick a subject. Let's say taxes. One side will say we need to raise taxes, and the other side is automatically opposed to it. Nope, we need to lower taxes. 4 years later, the other side will say we need to raise taxes. The other side will say, no, we need to lower it. And it's not that they have a valid reason for why they want to raise or lower taxes. It's just that they want to be in opposition to what the other side's saying. And the same things that they're railing against one year, the next year they're in full support of because the other side's against it. And it's just like this whole thing. We're going after Trump crazy hard. And we're going after Hunter Biden crazy hard. We're spending millions and millions of dollars. We know that nothing's going to happen. Look at all the money we spent on Hillary Clinton. And it was for nothing. Hillary's not in jail. She's not on probation. They got 1 or 2 little people up under her. But we wasted, 2 years of our life and all that money. And it just seems like for nothing, just to have some political punching points or whatever you want to call it. Yellow CEO had his lowest compensation in 2022 than any other year in that position. It's public information. Daryl Haskins, look it up. One thing I'd say is the president, CEO, whatever you want to call him, of Knight Swift, him and several of the leadership took a 20% cut in pay to kind of help things out in these tough times. Now, some of you skeptical people are going to say, well, so what? They make a lot of money. But 20% of anybody's pay is 20% of anybody's pay. And they did that voluntarily. And so I think that was commendable of them for sure. Hey, Miss Mother Trucker, if you've got a great accountant, if you want to say it in here, that's great. If you don't, email it to me at todd@truckertodd.net, and I'll get in contact with them. They are also, or the email address is also in the ticker below the video. It's going across the screen. It would help me a lot. I got to find a good one. Speaking of foreigners, I had a Mexican guy hit my damn truck about a week ago, and then a flock of them gathered around. They didn't even speak English. This was yard dogs in California. Man, that stinks. Let me ask you a question from a woman's perspective. When you're in a situation like that and a bunch of men, forget the nationality, could have been a bunch of white men, but if a bunch of men, 3 or 4 or 5 guys, jump out of a truck and surround you like that, is it scary or intimidating for you, or how did that make you feel when you were going through that? Or were you so mad about your truck being hit that you were just invincible? The other party has almost made it to say I'm proud. Yeah, that's true. I saw a video the other day where somebody was saying, if you own an American flag, you're a racist. And, that's never, the American flag was never designed to be a racially dividing issue. It was designed to be representative of, the red is supposed to represent the blood of the people that's died for our freedoms and liberties. The white was, I forget what the white and the blue are, but it was all real innocent stuff. And some of you that know that can throw it up there real quick. I'm just, it's been a crazy day. My brain is gone. Miss Mother Trucker says, I don't like Trump and I don't like Biden. I'm a Republican, but give me someone to vote for. Here's how I would describe Trump. Trump is like a really good Christmas present that was wrapped really poorly. And what I mean by that, he does great things. The economy's great when he's in office. He runs the country like a business. We all benefit financially. But sometimes he says and does things that don't paint him in the best light. And if he could just become a little more polished, maybe he'd be a little more palatable. But the problem is, that's why we like him, because he says what he means and he means what he says. There's no political correctness. But he reminds me of a really great Christmas present that was really poorly wrapped. And that's how I would describe him. But you name your politician, and I can tell you things I like about him, things I don't like about him. Tim Scott is great. I like Tim Scott. I can't say the one guy's name, Vivek Rashami or whatever his name is. He's pretty good, but I'd have to work on pronouncing his name. Anybody but Chris Christie. If we're going to get Chris Christie, we might as well put Biden back in office. They all use networks and social media to negate each other instead of talking about truth and what's best for our country. It's never about truth. It's about lies to get their delegates elected. Yeah, it seems they're always in campaign mode. Both sides. I'm not talking about one specific politician here, but it seems like that they're always in election mode, and what'll make them look the best. And what they don't understand is doing what's best for the country and make them look the best. It's hard to not like somebody that's helping you. Exactly. Great point. Hey, we make a lot of money. 20% of my pay would be a lot. Yeah, and even if you made minimum wage, $7.25 an hour, 20% of $7.25 an hour would be a lot to you. And so these guys, several $100,000 a year, I'm sure. If they gave up 20% of that, that's a lot of money. And they did that voluntarily. Now you could say, well, if they didn't do it, the company may have run them off. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But how many of you would be willing to give up 20% of your pay if your company called and said, hey, we just can't keep paying you like we've been paying you? Trucker Todd, right now you're in an 80-20 split. We're going to change that to a 60-40 split. And we hope you understand. I don't think I could do a 60-40 split. Daryl Hawkins took a bigger hit than that. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's that article I saw. I was the wife to a Green Beret for 16 years. I always have a knife on me and know how to use it. No one scares me. Well, that's good. You come across as a confident person. If I was going to pick a fight with somebody in a truck stop parking lot, you probably wouldn't be my first selection. I think you could probably hold your own. I hope UAW and the automakers can settle their issues. Hate to see a strike. Yeah, me too. I wish that the UAW and the auto workers could table this for 6 months and kind of let the economy recover a little bit. It looks like they could come up with some kind of temporary agreement and just put it off. The economy doesn't need any more hits right now. The automakers aren't doing that great right now. And I don't think it's the best time to have this strike. Hopefully they can come to some kind of agreement before we get to that point. Okay, this background is depressing. I am going to go back into the sleeper of the Kenworth. There we go. Skyline is in Robert, Louisiana. I know right where that is. Thank you for joining us. I bet y'all are getting some rain over there. Midlife brought it in. Thank you, sir. Red is valor, white is purity, blue is vigilant. Yeah, but there was something else about that too, that they came up with the colors. The red was supposed to signify all the blood that was lost in battle. The white had something to do with peace that they had promoted throughout the world. And the blue, and I think the white also had to do with freedom, and that's why the stars are white, and there's 50 of them for the 50 states. And the blue was like people injured in battle or something like that. But yeah, I like the valor, purity, and vigilance as well. I worked for Fox and NBC in New York for some years. Man, Manny, I bet you met a lot of cool people, or famous people, even if they weren't cool. I bet you could tell us some good stories. Trump behind the scenes is a totally different person. Yeah, I was recently talking to a guy that knew a major Republican, former presidential candidate very well. And he was telling me that guy, when you meet him in person, he wants to talk about fishing and outdoor activities. He doesn't want to sit around and talk about politics. And I'm sure a lot of them are different. A lot of them, the same people that are calling Trump a racist, a lot of them, your Oprah Winfrey's, your Al Sharptons, those people, a few years ago, they were hanging out with him until he declared to be a Republican. And that's what I say. It's a lot of this political stuff is nothing more than, are you on my team or are you on the other guy's team? And that's how they view it. Not, do you have a good idea? Would this help the country? Things like that. It's, are you a Republican or a Democrat? And then I'll decide if I like you publicly based on that answer. Now, privately, we may be friends. And we've seen that with George W. Bush and the Obamas. They hang out all the time now. The Clintons, they all despised each other when it was a political deal. But now that they're out of politics, it's they spend a lot of time together. As a limo driver. Yeah, Manny, you and I are going to have to talk. You got some stories you can tell me. Yes, that's true too. I think the flag had a lot of things it symbolized and meant. That's another one. The stripes represent the original colonies, the 13 original colonies. Yeah, this is another good point, Mike. The economy is rough because of all the money printing. That's true. And, we did all these bailouts. We did all these PPP loans. We did all these, deals where we were giving people money. Well, how many checks was there? 2 or 3 checks? And we just thought it was free money. We didn't realize, and I say we, I mean we as a public, didn't realize that money has to come from somewhere and it has to be paid back. And so did that money help people during the virus and all that? Sure. I don't doubt that it helped people. But we had to know that on the other side of that awaited a lot of inflation and a lot of struggle. That money doesn't just come from nowhere. I'm darn sure I don't want to see a strike with automakers. I've been wanting to buy a 1-ton dually. Had been waiting for everything to settle down since COVID. Yeah, it could make it very hard to get a new vehicle if they go on strike. And keep in mind, they're still recovering from the chip shortage. They're just now getting the chips and rolling the trucks out. And if we bring them to a stop again, those vehicles are going to be turds when you do buy them because they've sat for so long, stuff is going to get missed. And you'll have your warranty, but just like in trucking, what kills you with a vehicle is not the repair expense, it's the downtime. Here's something crazy. I'd take a pay cut if my boss asked. We have a good culture that's worth more than the money. Yeah, your situation being a company driver is a little different, though. If me or Miss Mother Trucker, if we took a 20% pay cut, we couldn't make our truck payments. We couldn't operate a profitable business. As a company driver, instead of 70 cents, you make 50 cents. Yeah, you still make money. But when you're buying a truck, it's a different deal. And so, again, I think it's commendable that they took a 20% cut in pay. I'm not going to turn around and trash them. But, yeah, it's just, it'd be tough to do if they asked me to do it. And that was the point I was trying to make. 20% is a lot of money to everybody. It's a fifth of your income. I love the brick background. Well, the reason I brought it up is when I started the show, I said my back was against the wall. And so I did it for visual effect. I was talking about how I really need to find another accountant. The previous relationship I had with that accountant has deteriorated, and so I've had to make some changes. But if you like the brick background, I'll leave it up. That's no problem. Tim Scott is just another rhino. I used to feel that way, and I heard him give a speech that I really, really liked, but I'm still Team Trump for now. Now, if he's not the last man standing, then I'll look at who the last two standing are on both sides. But yeah, that's what I'd say about that right now. I don't like the way Trump packages some stuff, but I like the results. And I don't elect a president based on if they'd be a good preacher at my church, or, if I'd want them as a Cub Scout leader, I elect him to do a job. And I felt like from a job perspective, he did very well. This time around, he might have a tougher time because the opposition is 10 times greater than what it was the first time. Surprisingly, no rain. Yeah, that is surprising. Do you know who benefits from a UAW strike? Tesla and Rivian, non-union. Yep, and both of them are big, big, big Democratic contributors, which leads me to believe there will be a strike. I agree with you, Midlife. There is a group called No Labels that is looking to field a cross-party ticket. Yeah, we've had, you guys might remember when Ross Perot ran pretty convincingly as a third-party candidate. Typically what you find when you've got a third-party candidate is they just take votes away from the Republican. They're generally a more conservative group of people or a libertarian group of people. And there's very few liberals in the group. It's mostly conservative. So I think we just need to work on holding our elected officials accountable. If they say they're going to do something, we need to make sure they do it. Or we need to make sure that they're a one-term politician. Damn, Eagles are running away over the Vikings. I can't even watch it. I got to do this. Yeah, Manny, I don't know if you've got my number or not, but if you don't, email me at todd@truckertodd.net, and I'll give you a call sometime when I'm cruising down the highway. Okay. Michael says he stands corrected. It's the number of stripes representing the colonies. Okay, well, thanks for clearing that up. Cannot believe all this impeachment stuff on either side. It used to be such a serious thing. Yeah, I agree with that. Both sides are doing it. Both sides are guilty of it. Whoever gets in office, the first time they do something they don't like, we're going to impeach them. And actually, the bar that they're supposed to be able to cross over to do that is high crimes and misdemeanors. I think it is high crimes and misdemeanors. And, some of the stuff they're calling high crimes, I don't know about. And we both know that, let's say they get Hunter Biden. Let's say they convict him. If a Democrat gets elected into office, they're just going to pardon him. And we've done all this for nothing, spent these millions of dollars. Same thing for Trump. Let's say they get him. Let's say they convict him of something. What do you think's going to happen the first time a Republican gets in office? They're just going to pardon him. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And frankly, both sides like it because they don't have to talk about the issues and they don't have to deal with the problems that are going on. One side can say, we're going to get him. He's a bad guy. The other side can say, oh, look at this. It's all political. Play the victim, and they can get a bunch of sympathy votes. We need to all just say enough of this. This is freaking nonsense. Taxes are too high. We've got economic inflation is too high. Freight rates are too low. We've got problems overseas. We need to deal with that and quit playing these back and forth tit for tat games to try to get each other, to play gotcha politics. Lee Iacocca took a salary of $1 per year until he turned Chrysler around. Yeah, Lee Iacocca, if you ever get a chance to read about that guy, what a guy. Worth reading and learning about. Henry Ford's another one. Abraham Lincoln's another one. If you can get some biographies on these guys, very inspirational stories. And quite frankly, they're great audiobooks when you're going down the road. I help my company by following the fuel solutions they send me, but money-wise, from 70 cents to 50 cents, I'm finding another job. So, yeah, it's a big deal with those guys from Swift. Yeah, I agree with you, Skyline. Whether we like Swift or not, whether we like Knight or not, we got to take our hats off to them and say um, that was nice of them and very respectable, in my opinion. Who was the only president who picked a cross-party candidate as his vice president? I'm not sure right off the top of my head, Midlife. Go ahead and hit us with it. Anybody got the answer to that trivia question? You may leave it up there for a minute, Midlife, and see if anybody knows who it is. I have your number. We spoke in the past. I thought we did, but I couldn't look on my phone and check. These trials and impeachment and BS are embarrassing us on the world stage. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And just the stuff, I mean, like the stuff we do, showing Biden falling down over and over. Yeah, that's bad, but it's like we're showing it to the world and saying, make fun of us, make fun of us. And the stuff we show about Trump, raiding his house and making him go in and get booked and putting his mugshot all over the internet. Would Russia ever do that to Putin? Would Xi Jinping in China ever, would his country ever do that to him? I mean, we used to be the leaders of the world. We used to be who everybody looked to. And now they're looking at us as the joke in the room. It's really sad. Exactly. Yep. I agree with you, Michael. That's the problem. And like I said, we're going to do a political channel, and I'll be able to say a lot more than I can say right here. But it's both sides. And any of these talking heads that you hear on the radio or the TV, they're all paid to be on one side or the other. So they're not giving you a clear picture on both sides. And that's what I'm saying. It's not one side's right and one side's wrong. They're both wrong. They both have tons of things that need to change. And we keep, we're so hung up on, is Hunter Biden going to jail? Is Trump going to jail? Instead of, how are we going to get inflation down? What are we going to do about our transportation problems? What are we going to do about our national security and things like that? We're so worried about things that really we don't have any control over, instead of things that we should be worrying about that we could fix: taxes, property values, business regulations. I mean, there's so many more important things we could be tackling. Another thing that is hurting the economy and the spot market is these dang scam artists, most from Africa. Exactly. Why can't we do something about all these scam calls? I probably get 3 dozen scam calls a day. Tax resolution, credit repair, all of that, just one right after another. And you block them and they change the number a couple of digits and call you right back. And probably it's the same people that are working customer service that are unable to help me fix my phone, or unable to help me fix my internet, or whatever the problem of the day is. I like this, Midlife. Midlife, that's one thing I'd say to you. I think you'd be surprised if you and I ever met in person. I think we would really like each other. I think we'd agree on a lot more things than you think we would. Russia has freedom of speech. You can say anything you want once. Yeah, remember the guy that was going into Moscow and he defeated a lot of Putin's troops, and then he all of a sudden called it off and went and moved off with his family somewhere? You don't ever hear from him anymore. I wonder if the KGB got a hold of him. I'd like to do a channel and somewhere in the middle where common sense belongs. Yeah. And you and I both know if we did that we'd get attacked from both sides. Common sense is the one thing that's not in Washington. Oh, wow. There you go. Abraham Lincoln, second term, he picked Johnson. Midlife cleared that up for us. Michael says Nixon, but Nixon had, what's his name? Gerald Ford, if I'm not mistaken. And so Gerald Ford was a Republican. I always get confused if he had him or Lyndon Johnson, but I believe that Nixon had Gerald Ford, because Gerald Ford became president when Nixon got kicked out of office. Brokers are starting to block carriers from carrier packets because of scam artists. It's pretty soon it's going to be hard to book loads because there will be delays with background checks. Yeah, that's why right now is a good time to be building relationships with brokers and stuff, so that, I mean, I've got a few of them now. When I call, they're like, hey, it's Todd. They know who I am when I call. And I'm sure Tim's got some too. When he calls, they go, hey, Tim, what's up? And that's what you want. It's if you're just calling a broker and you don't know anybody, you got to start from scratch. And it's a whole lot easier if they're like, oh, yeah, you did a great job on that load last week. And or if they're emailing you, that's even better. Hey, Tim, we was just going to see if he's going to be in Cleveland this week. We got a load we need covered, and we need somebody good on it. Those are the kind of loads you want. And that way they're not worried about you being a scam artist, and you're not worried about any hocus pocus from them or anything like that. It really blows my mind the dumpster people believe. Yeah. It's it's like this. It's, if you hear it, and this is something that the left has been really good at. They'll say something outright crazy on TV and let it circulate around, and then a couple of weeks later they'll go, oh, we're wrong, that didn't happen. Well, it doesn't matter. The toothpaste is already out of the tube then. And so, they put it in page 12 of the New York Times. We made a mistake 3 weeks ago. By then, that people already believe it. And you go to your barber shop and they're like, oh, I heard 3 weeks ago that this person said that, or that person did this. And you tell them, oh, well, it was taken out of context. It was on page 12 of the New York Times or whatever. And they're like, oh, I didn't see that. And so it's just lies and propaganda. Wasn't Nixon vice president to Kennedy, who was a Democrat? I don't know. I'm old, but not that old. And quite frankly, I slept through a lot of history. I didn't realize the significance of history until I got to college. And I had a college teacher my first semester that loved history. And for the first time in my life, she made it interesting. And I really enjoyed history to the point that I told her after class one day, I was like, man, I wish I would have had you as a high school teacher. I would have really enjoyed history, because you could tell she loved what she was doing. She loved history. She loved talking about it. And I don't even remember her name now, but she definitely made me take an interest in history. Spyro Agnew, Ford was never elected VP or president. He was appointed. Ah, okay. Man, I had it all wrong, midlife. I appreciate you correcting me. I pretty much deal with 2 brokers till I'm ready to go home. Then I have to branch out a little bit. There you go. I know who one of your brokers is. I don't know who the other one is. One of the biggest problems of our country, if not the biggest, is the media. Yeah, it's a tightrope there, because you want to have freedom of the press, but you want the press to have integrity and report the news. And everything's so slanted, and everybody's on their side, whatever the side is. It's either you're either on side A or side B. There's no middle ground. Nobody's reporting right down the middle. I mean, Fox News says we're fair and balanced, but let's be honest, they're not fair and balanced. They're for one side. CNN would like to tell you that they're right down the middle, but I don't think anybody thinks CNN's right down the middle. Same with MSNBC or any of the others. They've all got their political leanings, and we all know what those political leanings are. And I even think that's fine. But if you're going to have a political leaning, then represent that when you do your show. Say, hey, this is an opinion channel or an opinion show, and we're going to give opinion. Or say this is a news program, and we're going to do the news, and you can decide. I'm tapping out. Good night, all. Be safe. Yeah, you too, man. Have a good night. I think we're tapping out soon, too. We're near at the 2.5 mark. Kennedy's VP was Johnson. There you go. That's where I was getting it wrong. Yeah, I'm going to bed now. Thanks again for a great show. Good night, everybody. Well, we've lost Tim, so we're going to have to wrap it up ourselves. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I appreciate y'all watching. We'll do this again on, let me think here. We'll do this again on Tuesday. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.